Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hash It Out Show. I am your host, JB, your sports guy. We got a great show for y'all tonight. Later on, we're going to talk about the NBA Finals and what should the Pelicans do. Should they move up to get the number 2 spot or should they stay put? I'm joined by my co-host. You can catch him on CrescentCitySports.com, the one, the only George Peppers. George, what's going on?
Good evening, Jared. I'm doing fine, sir. Tough day, but it's good to be with you, and we're looking forward to a great show tonight.
Most definitely. Also joined by my other co-host that you can also catch on CrescentCitySports.com, the one, the only VK Jones. VK, what's going on?
Man, look at this here. They put me in the number 3 spot tonight, man. This is something else. This is conspiracy here. I don't understand that, who cares? You know what I'm saying? But we're still a team anyway. It's all good. No, God dog it. I keep on getting my mouth into a tizzy. Share this show, the Hash It Out Show on Facebook Live, YouTube
Cool.
Live. We have a good show tonight and also tomorrow. And we're going to be previewing a good bit of college baseball and NBA tonight. So tag, and share this show.
Joining us, our special guest. He is a College Baseball Central contributor. He will be going to Omaha to cover the LSU Tigers as they contend to bring home their 7th national championship in college baseball. We have Alex Day. Alex, thank you for joining us. How you doing today?
Thanks, man. I'm doing good. I appreciate y'all having me on the show.
We appreciate you being here with us. First question, before I get straight into LSU and their victories over Kentucky, talk to us about this weather delay that happened. I know the rule about lightning if it's within a 6-mile radius, but there were a lot of complaints from the fans who thought the game could have been played at 2 o'clock. What are your thoughts about what happened?
Well, Jay Johnson said at a press conference earlier in the week that they were not going to play if they couldn't guarantee that they were going to be able to get the whole game in. So, South Louisiana, it's summertime. There's always those, 2-3 o'clock showers that pop up. So, I imagine Jay was talking to the NCAA rep and, trying to, guarantee that they were going to be able to get the game in because, the last thing that Jay wanted to have happen was that have the game start, go 2 or 3 innings, and then have a 2-hour delay, and then Paul Skeens is done, and you only get 2 or 3 innings out of him.
Very understandable. LSU won 14-0 in the first game against Kentucky, won 8-3 in the second game. Seemed like the bats for LSU woke up. What are your thoughts about the victories that LSU had against Kentucky?
Well, yeah, game 1 victory was basically the same as what happened the first time they faced Kentucky. They in that first game they run ruled them 16-6. In this one 14-0. Just they had nothing. They got nothing for Paul Skeens. They couldn't figure him out. And yeah, the bats got going. They got loud. LSU had I think 6 home runs in that game, and they were just launching it out the park. And then in the second game. Ty Floyd got into a little bit of trouble. He gave up a few. They were only solo home runs, but they were getting to him a little bit. So Jay goes to the bullpen. The bullpen was nails, and Dylan Cruz comes in and ices the game. Gets his last at bat. Gets a 2 RBI double. It's great to see him come up in a moment like that and come through. In his last AB in Alex Box.
LSU now will play Tennessee in the opening game at the College World Series. What is it about Tennessee that you know, and does LSU have the upper hand against Tennessee?
Well, Tennessee, everything kind of starts and ends with their pitching staff. They have one of the best pitching staffs in the country. Their lineup isn't what it was last year. Their lineup was, the best in the country. They hit over 300 and hit 158 home runs last year. This is not that lineup. This lineup has struggled. So really they lean on their pitching, and they've got a really good pitching staff. Expect to see Andrew Lindsay against LSU. He's been the guy, had been beginning of the season. They've been throwing Chase Dolander. He's likely the number 2 college pitcher taken right after Paul Skeens. and he's a beast. But he's scuffled a little bit this year. So they moved him to the number 2 starter role, and moved Andrew Lindsay into the Friday night role. Although they'll be playing Saturday, but yeah, the game 1 role. So I expect to see him. And then their closer, Chase Burns, is just an animal on the mound. I don't know if you were watching the game last night with Tennessee and Southern Miss, but he came in to close it out and threw 102-mile-an-hour fastball, to
Yes.
strike out the guy, and just went bananas on the mound after that, as you can imagine. And he's an electric factory.
Before I pass on to George Peppers, who is LSU's biggest threat in the College World Series? Is it Wake Forest, Tennessee, or someone else?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of good teams in the field this year. I mean, Wake Forest, yeah, they're the number 1 team in the country for a reason. They have the best pitching staff in the country, and they have a lineup that's not quite as deep as LSU's, but the top end talent is pretty close to LSU's. You got Brock Wilkin and Nick Kurtz. Those are their 2 big monsters in the middle of their lineup. And then Rhett Lauder is, another one of those big time pitchers that's going to be right up there in discussion with Chase Dolander as the second college pitcher taken. And then, Sean Sullivan, I mean, as a staff ERA of around 3, which this season in college baseball is just, unreal. LSU's is like 4.5, Tennessee's 4.58, I think. Those are pretty good stats, but Wake Forest has got a staff ERA around 3. They strike out a ton of people. I would say Wake Forest is probably the biggest competition, but Tennessee's no slouch. Florida's no slouch either. LSU didn't get avoided them during the regular season, but and Florida's in the other bracket. So the only time LSU would run into Florida would be in a possible championship series. Could be a rematch of 2017. I don't know. We'll see.
Wait, George.
Alex, first off, thank you for joining us and making time out of your schedule to do so. My first question basically is it's staying with LSU, and you mentioned Tennessee coming in with not the same lineup last year. That team last year lost to Notre Dame in the Super at home. What makes them a threat this against an SEC foe in Omaha in a park that really isn't conducive for gorilla ball? If it was old Rosenblatt, we're talking about gorilla ball, but in this park, it feels like TD Ameritrade is one of those parks that doesn't really allow a lot of home runs. Obviously, Skeens is any advantage in this first game. You would think LSU holds that advantage, right?
Yeah, with Skeens on the mound, you're definitely confident, that it's going to go the Tigers' way. But the thing about Tennessee, like I said, is their pitching staff, and you mentioned that the field up there is not conducive to home runs. It's kind of a bigger ballpark. It plays bigger, so that lends itself to having better pitching. Helps you out. So we'll see how it goes. This year they say the ball's juiced. I mean, we've seen more home runs in college baseball than ever. They set a record most home runs across college baseball, even more than the gorilla ball days. So, maybe the story of, Charles Schwab now, it used to be TD Ameritrade. Now it's Charles Schwab being, kind of a pitcher friendly ballpark. Maybe that narrative changes this year. I don't know. We'll see.
It's possible. Now let's talk about one of the Cinderellas. Obviously, Oral Roberts is here, fourth 4 seed since they went to this format to make it to Omaha. This is an impressive baseball team. You look at them and some people will be dismissive, but they blew through the Oklahoma State Regional, blew an 8-0 lead, and lost to Oregon in Game 1 of the Supers on the road. Came back from 7-4 down in the 8th inning in Game 2 to win, and then handled them in Game 3. Do we need to be dismissive of Oral Roberts? They get TCU to open. And this is a TCU team, and it's a little semi-transition. They're here now, different coaching staff. Tell us about Oral Roberts and what you know of them and seen of them.
Yeah, Oral Roberts, a lot of people would try to say, oh, that's a Cinderella story. That's not a Cinderella team. They've won over 50 games, and they won that many games for a reason. That's a really good baseball team. Honestly, it was kind of a snub for them to be a 4 seed. They should have been a 3 seed at a minimum in a regional. And as you can tell, like there's no quit in that team. They will scratch and claw and fight you, and they have a really good lineup. And they're one of the probably top 5 best lineups in college baseball. And they can hit. They hit for power. They hit for average, and they're a ton of fun to watch.
Let's talk about the favorite, Wake Forest. They're in LSU's bracket. They open Saturday before LSU plays. They're a deserving favorite, and what they did to Alabama last week in the Super was just criminal. I mean, what did they score? 24 runs in game 2, I think, or 23 runs, something like that. What is it? What is it going to take for a team like LSU? Let's say LSU beats Tennessee and Wake wins their opening round game. What's it going to take for a team like LSU to beat Wake with that pitching staff and LSU? How would you approach game 2? Who you throwing Floyd, or are you going to throw Thatcher in game 2?
I'm absolutely throwing Ty Floyd. I personally am a big
Okay.
Ty Floyd fan. I think he's the most underrated player on this LSU team. He has not lost a game. He is 7-0. Now he has a lot of no decisions, but he has not lost a game.
Right.
And if you look at all of the games that he has started compared to all the games that Paul Skeens has started, and look at the outcomes of those games, they've only lost one more game starting Ty Floyd than they have Paul Skeens. So statistically, he's almost as good, almost as much of a lock to win a game as Paul Skeens. Now he's not as dominant. He has to work a little bit harder than Paul Skeens. Paul Skeens is, I mean, we won't ever see another Paul Skeens. Like if it wasn't for him, we would be getting, a lot more love for Ty Floyd. So, Ty Floyd going out there and giving you his best effort. And then you're going to need your guy, the depth of your lineup is what's going to be, I think could be the difference with Wake Forest is that 1 through 9, everyone can leave the yard at any time. And they hit not just for power, but for average. You got a lot of high averages. They hit LSU's hitting 314 as a team. And that could give, Wake Forest a little trouble. You just try and keep their lineup down. It's going to be a dogfight if that's, the way it goes. And it's going to take definitely a special effort to beat Wake Forest. But Wake Forest hasn't been to the College World Series since 1955. So maybe the moment gets too big for them. We'll see. We've seen teams crumble under that pressure before.
Exactly. I was going to revert back to Paul Skeens. I have 2 more questions. The first one is about Paul Skeens. When you compare him to other pitchers that have crossed into Baton Rouge, like the Ben McDonald's, Aaron Nolas and guys like that, where does Skeens rank in your eyes as great pitchers of LSU lore? Is he at the forefront of the list or in the list? Where would you put Paul Skeens as it relates to other great pitchers that have pitched at LSU?
Yeah, the dominance we've seen from this year is just unreal from him. I don't know that you can really – it would take something incredible for him to really pass Ben McDonald in my eyes just because it's one season. Ben McDonald did it for 3 years. Aaron Nola did it for 3 years. Aaron Nola was the 2-time SEC Pitcher of the Year. You got to do something pretty special. So – actually, it was funny. I was having this conversation with some other Tiger fans earlier today. And kind of what I said was that if Paul Skeens wins the Golden Spikes, breaks the strikeout record, and wins the national championship, then we can talk about him maybe being in front of Ben McDonald. But right now, for me, he's behind McDonald and Nola, kind of in that Anthony Renato, Alex Lang area for me.
It's a fair comparison. I mean, I like what I've seen from Skeens. He just shows that ace dominant pitching. I mean, the way he throws, it just like teams just look so overwhelmed against him. But now, my last question before I turn it over to BK. This is a great field. I mean, look at the composition of the field this year. You got Florida, Virginia, LSU, Stanford, a lot of perennial powers. Wake Forest, the team ain't been there since '55, trying to get to that area. If you had to lay your eggs in one basket out of these 8 teams, taking yourself out of the equation and just looking at all 8 teams in an equal fashion, who would you take in this field?
It's hard for me to take my personal bias out of it, but honestly, I think LSU is set up pretty well to make a run here. they've got Paul Skeens and pitching on Saturday. So this championship series starts the following Saturday. So if they can stay in the winners bracket, I really like LSU's chances. But if it's not LSU, then I'm going to say it's Wake Forest, just because their pitching is so dominant, and their third baseman Brock Wilken is just an animal. He's mashing so many home runs.
Alex, appreciate you taking the time to join us. Just wanted to ask you at first, going back a little bit to the Super Regionals, especially on Monday, what did you think that went wrong for Southern Miss, and also what did you think went wrong for also see for let me see for Texas? What did went wrong for both of those teams? Because both of them was in the hunt. You look at Southern Miss. They had the chance to get there in the second year at home, but it seemed like they could not clinch the big moment when they had to. And then you look at Texas last night. Very unfortunate what happened. And to me, it's almost like you got to make a play regardless of the fact. You have to make a play if you're going to have a chance, especially late in the ball game. What are your thoughts on those two games last night?
Yeah, I think for Southern Miss, it really just came down to they ran out of pitching. Tennessee had a much deeper pitching staff. That's where you kind of think back to last summer when Hurston Waldrop transferred from Southern Miss to Florida. If they had him on their pitching staff, that probably changes the complexion of that super regional. But they don't have him. And I think that's really, kind of been, their Achilles heel. They just didn't have enough pitching depth to face them for 3 games. And Tennessee did. Tennessee has a ton of pitching depth. So I think that was the big, decider for that one. For Texas and Stanford, man, yeah, you hate to see a baseball game lose, go down like that, especially since, Dylan Campbell, he's the outfielder who lost the ball, and he is their best player. I mean, he's a real dude, and he's been a real dude for them the whole second half of the season. And so you hate to see that. But, one of the interesting things is in game 1 of that super regional, Stanford had a very similar play where they were like 3 runs up on Texas in like the 8th inning, and they walked the bases loaded and then misplay a fly ball in the outfield, or 2 fielders ran into each other and dropped the fly ball, and Texas was able to score 5 runs on 1 hit. And so they blew that game. So Stanford should have won game 1, but they blew that game. And then now Texas blows the end of of game 3. It's just kind of, I don't know. I guess karma has a way of coming back around.
Absolutely. Now looking at the field itself, it's a very, very good one this year. You told us your favorites. Give us a long shot. Give us a dark horse that could win this whole thing. Expect the unexpected team that can win this national championship.
I would say Tennessee. They've got the pitching depth, and if those bats get hot, and they're a team that's set up to, if they lose a game, they can come out of. They have enough pitching. They can come out of a loser's bracket if they have to. And so I think they're a team that you look at and saying that they're, they're right there in the thick of things, and could. It's kind of weird. Last year was the team, right? They were the number 1 seed. They broke all kinds of records. Broke SEC records for how many wins they had, everything, and then they lose in the super regionals. Well, a lot of times it's the team after the team, right? So this is the team after the team for Tennessee. So maybe they get it done. But they certainly have the talent to do it.
Now, we seen early in the season, we all kept it with LSU. Things got a little bit crazy with the Tigers. In the beginning of the season, they looked like world beaters. All of a sudden, a couple key injuries kind of happened to the Tigers. It affected their pitching staff. It affected a couple of things out there. And then all of a sudden, they lose to Nickel State. Things went on a topsy-turvy wheel. Do you think the last couple of weeks for LSU, especially the home run hits, the timely hitting, and the pitching of schemes, Thatcher Hurd and Floyd has really got the Tigers on a roll? You think it kind of fixed things after that swoon?
Yeah, I think taking a break, kind of the early exit from the SEC tournament, I think kind of helped them, kind of reset some things. And one of the things that in the postseason, you really pare down your pitching staff. Skip Bertman used to talk about this a lot. Like, in the postseason, you really kind of try and count on about 7 arms, including your starters, right? So you've got Floyd, Skeens, and Hurd, and then the bullpen. You're looking at guys you trust. You're looking at Gavin Guidry. You're looking at Riley Cooper and Javen Coleman, Griffin Herring. Those guys. You really trust those guys, and so I think you're going with just those guys and not having to pull in some of the other guys that maybe have struggled a little bit more, been a little bit more inconsistent. You won't kind of see those guys in the postseason, and so I think that's been the big help.
Well, since you're going out there to Omaha itself, going there for the first time, what you're looking forward to going out there to experience Omaha, Nebraska, and also experience the College World Series itself?
I'm looking forward to the atmosphere, man. Last couple of years, with Mississippi State and Ole Miss, those atmospheres looked crazy at the College World Series, and I'm looking forward to something like that. Seeing, Alex Box North, see Tiger fans coming out, have a wild, crazy environment, and maybe get to kind of see some of the tailgates and stuff. A lot of the media day stuff that I'll be able to do on Thursday. Go to the practices and be able to talk to some of the players, on the field. Looking forward to a lot of that.
I'm gonna ask just one more thing, and we're gonna have Jared to take over from here. The way that we've seen LSU these last couple weeks, especially with them with the time they hits, but also hitting the long ball. And I mean, over 15, 16 home runs in 2 weeks for the LSU Tigers. I asked this to Jay Johnson. He complimented me on it. I'm gonna ask you, what did you think about that? Did you think of nostalgia with Gorilla Ball way back in the past under Skip Bertman, the way the LSU's been hitting the ball? And do you think that could be key for them maybe having a chance to win it all?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's hard not to think about compare this team to, kind of the 96, 97 teams and all the home runs they mashed. Now they're not quite at that level. This team's hit 131 home runs, right? The 97 team hit 188, just insane. But yeah, I mean, it's hard not to make that. And LSU is really the home of Gorilla Ball, right? That's where Gorilla Ball really became a thing, and the guys that Skip, recruited, he recruited those big monster dudes to just sit there and mash home runs. And Jay Johnson has a very similar recruiting style. I mean, you look at, this team and it's all guys that are 6'1" or above, 210, 230, just mashing home runs. So it's a very different style of baseball than what, Paul Maneri did. Paul Maneri recruited a lot of guys who play shortstop and center field. So, a lot of smaller guys that were fast and hit for a good average. I think that worked well for that era because, that was kind of the dead ball era, right? That's when the BB core bats came in. And so you saw a lot less of the home runs, but now they've kind of, they flattened the seams on the ball. They've made the ball harder so it flies further. And so you're seeing the home runs come back, and, Jay Johnson's, adapting to that style of baseball.
Alex, I got one question for you, and I'll let you go. We saw Kim Mulkey win a national championship in her second year. This is Jay Johnson's second year. What would it mean for LSU athletics if Jay Johnson and this LSU baseball squad wins a national championship this year, joining the LSU girls women's basketball team?
Well, I'll tell you what, Scott Woodward would deserve a big pat on the back. I mean, bringing these coaches in. I mean, he's basically replaced every coach in that athletic department at this point. And, it'd be just incredible to see. Sure put a lot of pressure on Brian Kelly for his second season.
Right.
And to be honest, you look at it, you know, I think Brian, in my opinion, I think Brian Kelly has a great chance. To be honest with you, especially with all the players coming back. I said that after the bowl game, I said this can be a national championship contender because that's too much experience coming back the next season, despite they got to go to Alabama. Despite that, the last time they won it all, they did go up there and beat Bam up in Tuscaloosa.
They did, yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I think they've got a really great shot. It's going to be a fun season for come the fall.
Florida State LSU going to be key. That's going to be the key. Now, I think either team has a chance in college football playoff, but the winner will have the upper hand.
For sure.
Most definitely. Alex Day, thank you for joining us. And if LSU gets to the championship rounds, we would love to have you back.
Sounds good, man.
All right. Thank you for joining us.
Definitely
Thank you,
appreciate
Alex.
it. Thank you, Alex.
All right. Thanks.
Safe travels, Alex.
Safe travels.
Have a good one.
All right. It's Alex Day, college baseball central contributor. And we've talked about LSU. They have a great shot to win it all. Leo says Alex Day will be back. Yeah.
Confidence.
Yeah.
A lot of confidence, man.
Look.
Love it.
And actually, Alex Day is originally from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Okay.
He's a big fan. Listen, LSU is the most talented team in the whole nation. Hands down.
Correct.
There's nobody close to the type of talent that this team has this year.
Nope.
Their weakness has been the pitching. After Skeens and Thatcher Hurd, it's pretty much, topsy-turvy a little bit. So the bats definitely gotta come through when you don't have Paul Skeens on the mound. You got to have hot bats. VK, your thoughts about LSU into the College World Series?
What you're saying is true, but now you got Ty Floyd that's been stepping up as well. This is a big time symbol, and especially that the bullpen hasn't been used that much. LSU is loaded to bear. I think they got things fixed in the last couple of weeks. We thought at first, a couple of weeks ago, we said that LSU is in a lot of trouble. Now look what didn't happen. They're hitting the ball well, timely hitting. Then on top of that, home runs. And the pitching is coming along. Key pitching. So that's going to help the Tigers big time. So I really think they got a chance. I think they're gonna defeat Tennessee in a close ball game. Tennessee really has worked their way to get there. I think LSU, they're not gonna underestimate Tennessee. I think they'll get it done. Wake Forest will be their biggest challenger. They will be their biggest challenger because Wake Forest can pitch. They got three great pitchers. Besides LSU got three good pitchers, but Wake Forest has three great pitchers. So that's going to be interesting in itself. And Wake Forest can hit the ball. So the thing is, if LSU can get by Tennessee and get by Wake Forest, they control their own destiny. And I tell you, up the other side, it's going to be pretty tough in itself. And man, Leo, I like Florida too. I think Florida is really, really tough. That's a really tough team that can come out there and could get it done. But I'm not going to even lie to you. The Virginia game is not going to be easy.
I agree.
Virginia is a good team, and Virginia's going to give Florida everything. I think Florida wins, but it's going to be really, really tough because Virginia's coming out of a tough ACC. So it's going to be an interesting first round. But I tell you, I think the LSU Tigers do have a chance to win it all, but they got to get by Tennessee and the Demon Deacs to get there.
George Peppers.
I look at this field, and like I was when I asked Alex, so looking at the composition of this field and who's here, I'm impressed. This is a very strong and deep field for the first time in a while. And not to crap on the Ole Miss teams that won it last year, the Mississippi States and teams like that got there and did very well. Ole Miss obviously is the reigning champion. But when you look at this bracket, Uh, Florida, VK mentioned astutely that Brian O'Connor's a very good coach at Virginia.
Yes.
Their biggest hallmark is their pitching staff. They don't have the dominant staff that they used to have, but they still can pitch the baseball. And in a big ballpark like Charles Schwab, it's more conducive to good pitching. Florida, though, I just think Florida's got too much, guys. I think on that side, I think Florida comes through. I agree with Leo that this is going to be great for baseball. What this tournament, what this World Series is going to be, I agree. Um, Florida, but TCU Oral Roberts game is going to be interesting. And look, Oral Roberts didn't win 51 games by accident. Those dudes are legit. And I'm not saying they're going to win a national championship. I'm not saying they're Fresno or Coastal or nothing like that. I think they're going to make a little bit of impact here. On the LSU side, see, we talk about schemes. Ty Floyd, as Alex astutely mentioned, didn't lose a game this year. Had a lot of NDs, no decisions. But if you watch Saturday's start, his backup pitches weren't working, and Kentucky was sitting on his fastball. And credit Jay Johnson for astutely pulling him out after 3 innings because all Ty could throw was his fastball. His other pitches, his slider, his curve, weren't hitting their marks. And Kentucky was sitting on his fastball. They got 3 solo home runs in the first 3 innings, and that's when the bullpen came to play and did what they had to do. Yeah, VK said 2 weeks ago, LSU, we were like, oh, they got no shot, but the best thing that could have happened to LSU, and this is going to sound absolutely insane on my part, was Texas A&M knocking them out the SEC tournament. That happening gave them time to kind of refocus, say, wait a minute, boys, let's get our long-term goal back in play here. We want to win this national championship. Let's reset. And look what they've done. They blew through their regional. They swept Kentucky. I expected them to sweep Kentucky, honestly. And you're talking about second-year coaches winning national championships. Since you're mentioning Brian Kelly, you forgot one. Matt McMahon, LSU men's basketball. I mean, he's in his second year next year from Murray State. He's in his second year. I'm just saying, super long shot. I don't think they have a shot. I don't think you have a prayer.
That's super duper. I'm gonna say this.
Exactly. Extremely super long shot.
I wasn't gonna say anything, but yeah, it's extremely long.
Matt McMahon has some good talent. They have some good talent coming in.
They're not winning nothing.
But that's the thing. They got some really good talent coming in, but how they're gonna come together as a team. So that's gonna be the difference there. But this is gonna be amazing if Jay Johnson gets this done, and you have to think that it's different with all these different runs in the past. Like Oral Roberts could make a good run. You know what I'm saying? Like me and George talked about before. They maybe remind you a little bit of a Fresno State that can make a little run. Stony Brook made a not bad run.
Stony Brook.
Now Coastal Carolina is different. And I'm going to school some of y'all to understand they were different. Coastal Carolina, you have to think about this. When they got to the College World Series, I was there at LSU for that Super Regional. I said it myself after that. I said Coastal Carolina is going to win the whole thing. The reason why? That team was built. This was a senior-laden team that has been in the Super Regionals the last 4 years. One of those years they hosted and lost to Clemson. So that team right then and there was built for that moment. And when they got there, I'm like, Coastal might. I'm like, you crazy? I'm like, no, I think Coastal gonna win this thing because this is a team that's been built, and that's what we're talking about. You look at the last couple of years.
Saying Oral Roberts has been built? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they're more of a Fresno State and a little bit of a Stony Brook to make a good run. They're not a Coastal Carolina.
So they can crop up. He's saying they could crop up and do something.
They could crop up and do something. You know what I'm saying?
Now I'm going to school you now, VK. Who did Coastal Carolina beat to win the national championship, and who was their head coach?
Who was the head coach of the team
that Coastal beat to win the national championship?
Arizona.
Who was their coach?
Jay Johnson.
Get it? Jay, when he got to LSU, y'all forget the presser. What did he say? It would be special to take this LSU team back to Omaha, and he'd be the guy to take them. Guess what, Jay? You're on your way. You're going to fly there tomorrow, whenever you're going. Safe travels to you and that group. It's everybody going to Omaha. Safe travels into the restaurants, into the bars in Omaha. You're welcome.
Money.
That's all we're going to say. Yeah. You're welcome. Because exactly. Two things though. Before I turn to you, Jared, VK mentioned this to Alex. Southern Miss blowing their regional. You know, Scott Perry had that regional set up right. They won the first game and they saved their ace for game two. It backfired on them, and then that's when Alex was talking about they ran out of pitching. Their ace didn't get it done in game two. He saved the one guy for two, and they lost. And Texas Stanford, look, man, you play nights in the Pacific time zone. Those lights are illuminated a little bit differently out there on the West Coast. And look, no excuses. I mean, the guy didn't make a play, but let's not cast. And I'm not saying VK is, but there are people actually castigating this dude on the social media networks. And I haven't seen anything outrageous like death threats or any of that foolishness. But look, and it would have been cool for Texas to get there with David Pierce, former Tulane coach. It would have, because we have Tom Walter, former UNO coach, LSU with Jay. And if Texas would have got there, it'd have been three coaches that coached in the Big Three here in Louisiana. But you know what? Who do y'all think wins this World Series before we move on? I'm gonna ride this Wake Forest wagon, man. I don't know. I think LSU can get them, but you know what? The heck with it. What am I saying? I love you, Tom Walter, but we got to get it for the boot. LSU gets it done because their pitching has really come to bear these last few weeks, and they look like a refocused, re-energized team. I think LSU finds a way.
Who wins, VK? The whole thing.
It's going to be very interesting. I would not be surprised that we might have a rematch for the national championship series.
LSU, Florida.
LSU, Florida, but this time
Mhm.
Jay Johnson will get redemption. Jay Johnson has been
Get
doing a
it done.
great job over the years. He did a great job at Arizona, picking up the slack where Coach Lopez left off when he led them to the national championship, but try to pick it up at Arizona, but couldn't get it done this time. He gets redemption at LSU. LSU wins it all.
I got LSU also. I think the Bass are too hot right now. I think the Bass come through. Now, before we get to the NBA Finals, I got one thing to say that's on my mind because it really made no sense to me. So, number one, Southern Miss and Tennessee were not national seeds. So, the NCAA just picked Southern Miss to host the Super Regional, and then
Yes.
flipped a coin where Tennessee won the coin to be the home team for game one. To me, that is idiocracy. Have every team, 64 teams in this field, they all need to have some type of seeding. You got your overall number one seed, you got your 64 seed. And if whoever are hosting the regionals, if they lose and two teams who didn't host meet up, whoever's the higher seed has to be the one to host. It is as simple as that. What they did, go to Southern Miss and flip a coin. That is idiocracy. I couldn't believe that happened. Number two,
I agree. I'm gonna say this right quick before you continue. I definitely agree with that.
No, you don't continue. No, go ahead.
I definitely agree with you on that because remember, we kind of talked about that off here, and I was getting a lot of information from a lot of people. And what happened was the NCAA had to do, like, to me, what you're saying is right. They have to try to reseed it. They have to seed it in a way that continue with your 1 through 8 national, but you got to seed everybody else. I can understand why the TCU had to host against Indiana State, which Indiana State had a 16 national. The reason why was that when your bids come in, you got to make sure everything's available. And the thing was, there was no hotels available in Terre Haute, Indiana, because of Special Olympics. So the Special Olympics was out there, and not too many hotels was available. So that's a case that, okay, we understand that you got
in that case, correct.
Yeah,
but how many people
but
really thought Indiana State was
shocked.
gonna host the regional?
Right. But I was more shocked in a little bit about Southern Miss for the second year in a row getting a host against Tennessee. I thought Tennessee would host there, but I can't believe, and a lot of people couldn't believe that Southern Miss had a better bid than Tennessee.
Right.
And it's shocking. But it just showed. But here's the thing but they do need to reseed, and I agree with that. But it just shows Southern Miss, they didn't step up in the moment. When it was there, they didn't step up in the moment.
Not at all.
Credit. Let me throw this out there for both of y'all. Let me give a shout out to TCU. I mean, granted that they were able to host because of the Special Olympics and everything in Terre Haute, but did you see what TCU's athletic program did for Indiana State?
No.
I told this to VK a few days ago. They gave $25,000 to the Special Olympics thing in Terre Haute. They put out $25,000. The athletic department sent Terre Haute, the city, 25K out of the university's coffers for them. And kudos TCU, way to go. Big ups from me and from all of us.
Mhm. And
Most
continue,
definitely.
and continue, Jared, because you said there was one more other thing. You
No,
said that
I
even
mean,
though
I was going to continue, but you went ahead and said it. Yeah,
Exactly. He
yeah,
interrupted you
Mister
again.
never lost of words. He went ahead and said it. Indiana State and what you call it,
TCU,
TCU. Yeah, yeah, you said it. Yeah,
TCU.
you said it. Took the words out of my mouth. It's all good though. It's
uh,
all good though.
Mhm.
Well, thank y'all for tuning into the Hash It Out Show. Moving on, we have a new NBA champion. It is the Denver Nuggets' first NBA championship
Mhm.
ever in team organization history as they defeated the Miami Heat last night. Nikola Jokic is your finals MVP. And I said the series would end in five. I was correct. And I'm going to be real. Miami, in my opinion, never had a chance to beat this team. This team has shooters. You got the best player probably in the nation in the Joker, who is Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, and I can go on and on and on. Also, the height. Denver were much taller, gave the team Miami fits. Um, and to me, Miami, they don't have a superstar. Some of y'all might say, well, what is Jimmy Butler? I say Jimmy Butler is just a star. I never considered Jimmy Butler a superstar, in my opinion. He steps up. I love his tough mentality. Don't get me wrong. But they are missing a key to that puzzle, which I'll get into later. They're missing one key and probably a couple taller players to help out if you want to beat this team in case you match up with them again in the finals next year. But it was just too much. And when Denver couldn't hit a shot and they are still in the ball game, you couldn't put them away like you should have. I said right then and there that Miami would not win game five, and Denver came back late in the third, fourth quarter, took the lead, and never let it go. The better team won. Let's get it right. The better team won. The team with the better players won, hands down. I won't say better coach, because I think Eric Spoelstra is one of the best coaches in the league, but the better team did win. Plain and simple.
Mhm.
I'm gonna let VK go first, then I'll let George go after. Go ahead, VK.
George, I'm gonna let you go first, my friend.
Oh Lord, here we
Go ahead,
go.
my friend. Go ahead, my friend.
I'm not trying to start anything.
I know you're gonna. I know you got a lot. So I'm gonna be a man and let you go first.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go last.
All right. I forgot to bring some cheese for the mouse on the show, but that's okay. Um, no, forgetting the argument, I want to talk about the series itself. Um, you know, everything Jared you just said is 100% on point. And yes, I had a little bit of a nugget on this thing being a sweep. And if not for the game two collapse, it would have been a sweep. Remember, Denver was ahead double figures in the second half of game two, and Miami pulled a monster run out of their derriere to get that game two. And then Denver dominated games three and four in Miami. They won both games by double figures. Miami got beat last night. When Miami, as you mentioned, Denver, they were what 2 for 16, I think, because in one stretch they got outscored 31-13 at one point, and that's between the second and third quarter. And Miami built a 10-point lead. I was like, well, if you ain't putting them away now, the Nuggets are eventually going to hit shots. And this was the misread of the misreads for me because I thought it would be more offensive. Now, this was a defensive final. This reminded me of 99, Knicks Spurs. Because remember, none of those games went to the triple figure mark. None of the five games New York and San Antonio played. Remember, San Antonio handled the Knicks easily in games one and two in that series, and New York won game three. And the Spurs won game five, the clincher, 78-77. Avery Johnson, I hate your guts, bro, for that weird looking release you had. I don't think they would have done anything in game six, but that's neither here nor there. Now, VK is trying to bait me into a debate that we've already had. All I know is what I saw. a clearly outmatched Miami team, just like the Knicks were against San Antonio in '99. Don't tell me the Knicks had a chance in that series. They gutted it out without 33, without the Hall of Famer. They gutted it out, but they just weren't able to match up. Miami had the full complement. Jared, you mentioned somebody they need a superstar. I have that superstar,
Me too.
and it's not a big. It's not a
Mine's not a
big
big
for
either.
me.
Let's get to it later. Let's get to it later.
Okay. Okay, let's do that later. But VK, as far as the debate, I have really nothing to say. I mean, look, what was said was a week or two ago. We'll leave it there. I just want you to decipher the finals and forget this best eight seed ever because that's a subjective debate and neither of us are going to ever budge, neither me, Jared, or you. So let's just get you to give us a breakdown of the final itself. Clearly from our end, Miami was outmatched. And look, credit their effort, but it felt like a knife to a gunfight, really, for me. And the Heat brought a knife, and the Denver brought the M4s and the AR-15s. Too much weaponry on the Nuggets side. Even with Michael Porter stinking it up in this final, the Nuggets had more than enough to handle their business. VK, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. First of all, I will break down the finals. Big time credit going to the Denver Nuggets winning the championship. And the thing about the Denver Nuggets that I've seen, besides their big two, is the fact that Denver had so many weapons. So many weapons. A different person stepped up every night. You look at what Aaron Gordon did in game 4. You look at what Christian Braun did in game 3. You look at what Bruce Brown did also in game 4, and also Michael Porter Jr. There's so many weapons on this squad. It takes a lot of pressure off of Jokic and also Jamal Murray, which regardless, they had some great games. And Jokic, straight up, and I don't care what anybody says, y'all, if y'all don't like what I gotta say, fight me.
Y'all go fight him. Y'all go fight him.
Yeah, come on.
Go get him.
Nikola Jokic, the Joker, is the best player in the NBA. He's the best player in the NBA, period. After what
Mhm.
I've seen, not just I've seen it all throughout the playoffs, but this right here is a icing on the cake that this man is the best player in the league. That's straight up. No disrespect. Now,
Mhm.
the Denver Nuggets, they're set up for a good future, and give the Denver Nuggets a lot of credit. They went for it. That's a young organization that went for it and stood by their coach. Big time credit to Michael Malone.
8 years. 8 years.
Michael Malone had to grow into that position. When you go from when he coached at Sacramento to now, he has really gotten better as a coach, and it's amazing of what he's done at Denver, and for the Nuggets to stick with him and that stick with the nucleus that they had, made little bitty changes, but finally got the right mix to get it together. And the biggest blessing for them is for Jamal Murray to finally be healthy and 100%. And they're just rolling and rolling. So I like Denver being the favorites probably next year as well. And it's going to be interesting to see. And this is a sign here. The young teams are coming up, like we mentioned. Who's next on the list? Lakers, and I keep telling you, they're dwindling. The older team, they're dwindling. The younger teams are coming. They're coming. I kept telling you this. Denver has made the first mark. Now who's next? Will it be the Pelicans? Will it be Memphis if they get their heads together? Will it be one of those young teams that could come up? It's coming. Somebody else is coming up soon, but we will see about that. But besides that, give a lot of credit to the Miami Heat. I'm going to tell you this now. Yeah, Denver was the better team, but give the Miami Heat credit last night. They took these people all the way to the wire. They went down swinging, and that's what you're supposed to do. So
5
what
games.
they win in 5?
Not the limit.
Denver, Denver,
The limit is not 5 games.
Denver had to earn that.
Tell me
Denver had to earn that title in game 5. There wasn't no blowout. It wasn't nothing. They fought them all the way to the end.
Okay, but what
And
you
that's what
expect
you
to
need.
happen when the team is back against the wall? They're gonna come out swinging. They're gonna fight.
But a lot of y'all thought, oh, it's really over. They're gonna blow them out. That's what a lot of people said.
No, I didn't think that, but I said it ended in 5. I didn't say it would be a
I
blowout.
thought they would too.
Yeah.
So a lot of people said it was gonna be a blowout. Miami came out and played. They played desperate like they did throughout the playoffs. And George, you think everything matters, right? About the whole Heat 8 seed. It doesn't matter what you
I
think.
don't. Oh,
It
really?
doesn't matter
You sound
what
right.
you
You
think.
sound. That's that St. Augustine security kicking in.
I am going to stick to what I'm saying. The reason why I'm saying, and I'm gonna say it one more time, degree of difficulty.
Oh
That's
my goodness.
why I'm gonna still
Lord.
say it. Miami Heat, tribute to them, greatest 8 seed ever.
No.
Book it. I don't care. I'm sticking to my guns because I know what I'm talking about. And back in the day, ladies and gentlemen,
You sure about that?
and back in the day, ladies and gentlemen, the New York Knicks didn't have to go to a playing game. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Playing game.
Okay.
Thank you. The
You want to go
tournament.
first, or you want me to go first, George?
No. I said
Pick your.
done.
He's picking his poison.
Wait, we can't be done when George said he wasn't going to go that route. You come at the very end and go that route. So
I wanted to because
First of all, Jared. Okay, Jared. First of all, what homeless guy did you jump to get that jersey? That's what I want to know. Who'd you knock out to get that jersey?
He been had that jersey.
I know he did. What is that, Zoe? Is that Alonzo? I can't see the number.
It's LeBron.
Oh, LeBron. Oh, Lord, another one. Man, Tom. Anyway. All right, where do we start? Because we've already debated the fine points of this, and I really didn't want to go there, Jared. I did. You heard me.
I know.
It's on air. I tried, but somebody decided to take the V and put the B in front of his initial. I'm just throwing it out there. But you mentioned young teams. Look, before I get into this, there is one young team I'm going to pay attention to when they get Chet Holmgren back, and they have a lottery pick, Oklahoma City. That team could be a little dangerous next year, Chet, if he puts on some weight and they get it right in draft. Those dudes they got 5 picks in this draft.
They made the playoffs.
Oklahoma City. And exactly, they got to the playoffs and they got run Slap City. I mean, they got bombarded by Minnesota in the last play-in on the way to Denver, and they would have probably met the same fate.
Yeah.
You know, they would have met the same fate because they weren't ready to win. But that's a good young staff there at Oklahoma City, and it's a division. Well, obviously the Nuggets are in there, and Utah and all those guys are there. Look, I'm like this now. Where do we start? I mean, I can't compare score lines. The only comparison that wins this argument for me is what we said 2 weeks ago, Jared, and that's VK talks about degree of difficulty. If that's the argument you're going to go on, the Knicks win that argument hands down. Why? They missed a Hall of Famer. Y'all missed Tyler Hero.
But here's the thing.
End of story.
No, I'm gonna say
no. We let you talk. Let the man finish.
Yeah, exactly. It's my. It's.
You go ahead and finish. Cause I had a rebuttal.
Can I finish? Please, can I finish?
Yeah, you gonna finish?
All right, I will.
You gonna finish? Then I will go. Then we let him go.
Exactly. But by then he'll be so beat up, it's over with. But no, since VK wants to make degree of difficulty the fine point. Oh, now he's going to go off screen. Oh, that's lovely, chicken little. But all jokes aside, let's get back on point here. If VK's argument is degree of difficulty, how in the world the Knicks don't win this argument? Because it's Patrick Ewing versus Tyler Hero. Who's the more impact player, Jared Boyd? I ask you. It's Patrick, right?
Patrick Ewing, yeah.
I mean, no doubt, right?
Yes.
That's like, dude, really? Tyler Hero's a good player, good shooter. But come on, man, to even insinuate that Tyler Hero's loss is as impactful as Patrick Ewing, the foolishness. No, in the words of Stephen A. Smith, the blasphemy. I mean, the blasphemy. I know it's crazy. So the argument is one: if VK is going to use DOD as part of the argument, I win. End of story, Jared. It's yours. It's your floor now, sir.
Let me start off with this. Okay, Miami Heat since 2020 has been to 3 conference finals, 2 NBA finals,
right?
Beating the Bucks and beating the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
That's been your top 3 teams since then. The New York Knicks couldn't get past Michael Jordan until Michael Jordan retired 94 and 99. Think about that. They couldn't get past Michael Jordan. So they got to the final.
Don't remind me, sir. Please, it hurts.
Oh, yeah. And
I mean,
think about this. No Patrick Ewing. So you really think Kurt Thomas and Marcus Camby could stick David Robinson and Tim Duncan without
Nope.
Patrick Ewing?
nope.
No shot. There's no shot in the world. Not at all.
Nope.
Miami Heat made a great run, but they were in the conference finals last year. They were in it this year. They were in it in the bubble. They got to 2 finals. So no, I cannot sit here and say that they are the greatest 8 seed ever. They had hiccups throughout the season. Yes, they did, but then they showed the world why they've been to deep playoff runs, why they were in the finals in 2020. They showed the world that.
Because they were a better team then. This is what I'm telling you.
My God.
No. That's the truth. That's a fact. 2 different teams we're talking about. Okay, Patrick Ewing. We understand he could. You need him to stick everything. You got exactly, but you got here's the thing. The Heat just have Bam and Butler. Butler, who was a 2nd-round pick. Bam Adebayo, a 1st-round pick. What the Knicks had outside of Ewing? Marcus Camby, number 1 in the draft. What? Larry Johnson, number 1 in the draft. What was that? Allen Houston. What? Top 10? Latrell Sprewell. Top 10? Plus experience? Come on, man.
Where did
That's
they get
big-time help.
Where did they get
That's
to?
a big-time help.
Jordan?
And the Knicks took advantage. Let me tell you something. The Knicks took advantage against a Eastern Conference that was a little subpar. Indiana, yeah, hell of a team. But come on. The Heat was a good team, and they slipped them up. Give them credit. But they went against a weak Hawks team. A Hawks team that can't even get to the conference finals to save their freaking life.
What can we say about the Knicks this year?
And then you think about the Heat this year with those 2 draft picks I just mentioned, and also maybe a 2nd-round hero that couldn't play, but then a bunch of undrafted free agents that got to the finals. Come on, Brett. That stunts the Knicks because the Knicks got all this experience and these top 5 draft picks. Come on, Brett. They don't even have top 5 draft picks, and you got a bunch of people coming off the bench and people that starting. Gabe Vincent, yeah, he was on that team in the bubble, but hardly played. Now he plays now and average 19. Come on, man. And they had to play, and it was down what? 2 with 2 minutes left, and maybe could not make postseason. Come on, man. This stunts the Knicks. I'm sorry. This is the greatest 8 seed ever, and it doesn't matter what y'all think. I understand your arguments. I respect your arguments because you got some good facts. I got good facts too. We're going to agree to disagree anyway, regardless of the fact. Y'all say the Knicks, I say the Heat.
I didn't want to go there.
I'm sticking with it. I'm just sticking with that. That's it. Like, we understand we had a little throwdown before with the Deion Sanders Colorado thing. Y'all got me with that. Y'all got me with that.
Yes, we did.
Y'all got me with that, and y'all made me change my mind. And I had to do research myself besides listening to y'all to be like, all right, I come around to that. Not this time, buddies. I love y'all to death, but not this time. There's some people that do agree with me, and there's some people that agree with y'all.
That's fine. That's part of sports. That's gonna happen either way.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna say this right quick. I would agree with you if the Heat didn't make 3 conference finals in 4 years. I would totally be like, yeah, maybe that's the best 8
that works.
Ever. But 3 conference finals in 4 years and 2 finals, I will not agree with you. I don't care about these undrafted players or not who came on his team. They still made it to this far in the playoffs.
That's Eric Spoelstra.
Yeah.
That's what that is. That's Eric Spoelstra.
Not a doubt.
Simple as that.
I'm gonna say this. I do agree with y'all on that last statement. It was Eric Spoelstra. I'm gonna give you that. But at the same time, I see where you're coming from, Jared. But I'm saying this because it's year by year basis.
Yep, there
This
it is.
team,
3 Eastern Conference
no,
Finals. 2
I
NBA
said a
Finals.
year
There we go.
by
Year by
year
year basis.
basis. No, a year by year. Meaning, look at this year's team. This year's team couldn't even hold them last two teams' jock. Come on, man. You have to think. When everybody healthy, they're under 500 in the regular season. That's bad.
I mean, hey, George.
Bad, bro.
George, am I right?
Yes, sir.
The majority of the Heat team was back this year, right? The majority, correct?
Correct.
But they played under 500. Dude.
Okay, they
That's
struggled
same.
a little bit. That's okay. They struggled.
He will. Hey.
It's okay. They struggled.
Okay.
Oh,
All right, Jared.
all right.
Jared.
Yes.
Let me say this. Since the proclamation has been made on his part, I'm gonna re-proclamate on this side. That New York Knicks team that knocked out the Atlanta Hawks. Who did the Atlanta Hawks beat to put Miami in the winner take in game? The Miami Heat, right? They beat the Heat and forced Miami to have to win their way into the playoffs.
Right.
Thank you. That weak Hawks team that you want to crap on beat your beloved Heat.
Yeah.
And I'm saying it because you sporting the colors.
And you're proving my point.
Proving your point. How?
You're proving my point.
How?
That Miami Heat team was inconsistent this season. You just proved my point.
We're
not saying
they
turn a
freaking
light.
No, that's not what we're saying.
We're not saying that. We just saying
that's not what we're saying.
Yeah, go ahead, George. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's not what we're saying, Jared. I'll give that to you. But dude, I mean, let's be real here. I mean, we're comparing two teams that were clearly outmatched in their respective finals. The Knicks were never going to beat the San Antonio. If they would have had Patrick, I think they'd have pushed you guys to 6-7. Six. Yeah, because remember, it was a 2-3-2 format in that final.
That's correct.
This is a 2-2-1-1-1. And both games in Miami, remind me again, the Nuggets won both by double digits. Miami was never a serious threat to win games 3 and 4, and it took a Denver collapse for the Heat to get their only win in this series in game 2. So arguments are subjective. They always will be in the world of sports, Jared.
That's right.
This one is objective and rejective because we're rejecting VK's argument on principle. It's simple. The Knicks 99 team would beat the brakes off this Miami team right here.
I agree.
Last word, BK. I can understand this, and we're gonna move on. I can understand where y'all coming from with that. You know what I'm saying? But what underdogs are about, what underdog teams are about, expect the unexpected. We expected the unexpected from this team. Nobody thought that this Heat team was gonna do what they did in the playoffs. Nobody, especially the way they play in the regular season. That's just.
I gotta say this. I gotta say this in regards to that. I didn't have the Heat beating Milwaukee in the first round. I did not, but I said the Heat could get them to 7 games just because of the playoff experience and being in those previous conference finals. I did say that. I said it is a bad matchup.
You did say that, but my thing was if Giannis, for one,
and he got hurt.
For one, if Giannis don't get hurt, and if the supporting cast do what they were supposed to do, looking like the god dog on Cleveland Cavaliers when they had the best record and the supporting cast sold out on LeBron, if they do what they're supposed to do, Miami done in 6 games. They're done. And that's just facts. You know.
And if Jalen Brunson doesn't turn the ball over, VK, in game 6, down 2, that goes to game 7, back to New York, and Miami's going home. New York would have won that series.
Hey, I'm gonna say this, George. You do make a good point. I'm gonna respect you on that. You is absolutely right.
Thank you.
I'm gonna give you that. That's why I said this is one of those expect the unexpected teams. Nobody thought, especially the way they played in the regular season. Everybody kept saying they got the experience. They got the experience. VK was not buying it. When I look at everything, I look at game for game and look at numbers and be like, something not right. Something not right. And all I know, sometimes injuries and certain breaks happen, and that's what happened with the Heat. Certain things happen, and all of a sudden, all right, they took advantage. And hey, all of a sudden they went all the way to the championship. But big ups to the Heat for the great run they made, greatest A seed ever, despite what they did. But I love
Yeah,
you,
but that is
I
the
love you
Heat, man.
guys. I love you guys, but I'm sticking to my guns.
I want you to stick to it. All right. So now we talked about the Miami Heat having a missing piece, and I'm going to start it off. I'll let George go second. That missing piece to me is another scorer who could score from the outside that can help that team out. And I'm gonna sit here and tell you, I think the Miami Heat needs to put together some type of trade package. If it's a first round pick with a couple players like Oladipo, who was hurt, Duncan Robinson, Struce, and I told somebody there's another name off that team I can't remember.
Robinson,
Yeah, Duncan Robinson, Gabe Vincent, Oladipo, first round draft.
something like that.
You put a package together that you could send away to get Dame Lillard to Miami, where
I swear to God.
you could have his contract. You get Dame Lillard, man. Miami is about to really blow up. I'm telling you. To me, that is the missing piece. Dame Lillard in Miami. George Peppers.
We must be kindred spirits, dude, because that's the guy I think puts them into the finals next year, Dame Lillard. I think you get a guy like that, his floor leadership, his general, he is a leader far and away that Miami does not have. I mean, Butler is Butler. He's going to score, but he goes into these cold spells, and there's nobody on the Heat team that can back him on spells that get cold.
Correct.
You get Dame on that roster and Spolstra mix it. You think Spolstra would absolutely love this backcourt? My God. And Miami would be a bona fide contender. Then what's the price tag for him? Probably Tyler Harrow would probably draw the attention. I think Harrow, Struce, maybe a first rounder somewhere on the depot, something like that. Portland's going to ask for a pretty penny or two.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you that it's Dame. And eliminate the fantasy of Dame coming here because I have another name that I would like to bring here
We'll get to that.
going forward.
Get to the
If
Pelicans.
yeah, we'll get to that in a little. We'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah.
I get that, but Jared, we must be kin some way. I don't know what your blood type is, sir. I don't know what mine is, but we got to be thinking on along the same rhythms and wavelengths because I 100% think it's Dame Lillard, the missing piece from Miami. There's nobody else in this free agency market that I think puts Miami into the championship and it would have the impact that Dame Lillard would have in Miami. And Dame going to the Eastern Conference. Remember, the Celtics may fine tune that team in the offseason. Jalen Brown's name has come up in trades. Milwaukee might, with the new coach, with Griffin as the new head coach. Van Vliet is declared for free agency for Toronto. He's a guy that would be interesting. So there's going to be a little bit of turnover in Eastern Conference. And if Miami plays their cards right and they get Dame, boys, look out. That group could be extremely, extremely dangerous next year.
Yeah. It's about winning now. VK.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say this, man. I think everybody in their mama is saying the same thing, and I got to agree. It's Dame Lillard, Stephen A. Everybody, all the top people, they're saying Miami for Dame Lillard. Yes, that is the place for him to go. Everything will be established for him, and that's one of my favorite people. I want him to go over there, go get him a championship. I wouldn't mind going get a Dame Lillard Heat jersey. You know what I'm saying? I might go get a Blazers jersey. I might go get a Blazers jersey on discount because they look so nice. You know what I'm saying? But see, Dame will go up in there, and I think Miami will have a chance to win it all, especially with him in the Eastern Conference. That'll be huge if they can get him. So I agree. Dame Lillard.
All right. Let's move on to the Pelicans. So, word has it the Pelicans are trying to trade up to get the number 2 draft pick to draft Scoot Henderson out of the G League. But what can the Pelicans put together in order to get this pick? Well, somebody from FanDuel put together a trade package. And it has the Hornets, who has the number 2 pick, receiving Zion Williamson, Kira Lewis, and the 14th pick, while the Pelicans receive the number 2 overall pick, Gordon Hayward and Cody Martin. George, I'll let you go first. Number one, do you like this trade package I just said? And if not,
No.
what is your trade package?
No, first of all, no, 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 no. Zion Williamson, go read Ken Trahan's article on Zion on CrescentCitySports.com and about the future. Look at his averages when he plays. I get he's only played 36% of his games. I do. But when he's out there, he's a 26, 8, 4 guy. Blocks. The dude is a stud. I'm not trading a franchise player for a combo guard that I don't know what he's about. Scoot Henderson, and Gordon. You said Gordon Hayward's on this package.
Yes.
They may buy him out. That could be one of those things, situations where they buy him out or they keep him. And then I don't even know the other kid you mentioned, Martin. Who'd you say, Cody
Cody
Martin?
Martin.
I don't even know who that dude is.
Me neither.
Who's he?
I don't know what that is either. I couldn't
Me
tell
neither. I was like, one of them dudes is like, we'll throw the guy in there, right?
you.
Well, we'll just move him in his family, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
MJ.
So no. If you move up, I've taken the time. I've put together a couple of possible packages, and none of them involve Zion. If the Hornets want Zion, click. They're catching a dial tone. Simple as that. I'm not moving that dude for nothing. Look, I get what's going on. We're not going to touch that, but let's talk trade. If the Hornets want to talk trade, why not facilitate a third team? Because I'm not sure you get a one-on-one trade deal done with this Hornets team. Um, um, for me, I hate to do this. I really do. But Kyra Lewis definitely goes into this package. Najee Marshall and the 14th pick. Najee Marshall, why? Because he offers you defense and scoring in the backcourt. I need a wing and a guard coming back, but the guard's going to be Scoot Henderson at 2. But what if the Pelicans are playing us? What if they go for Brandon Miller? Remember, he's been cleared of all those charges of the gun stuff and everything else.
Right.
He's been cleared. And that guy could score from anywhere on the floor, inside, outside. He could hit the three. What if it's him? I mean, and what if you say, let's go get, why not do this? I brought this up. Trade up, but don't get Scoot Henderson. I mean, he's 6'7", he's a smooth point guard, but he's not the great scorer yet. He may be.
Mm-hmm.
His defense is pretty good. But, I don't know if you guys have checked out tape on this dude. I have not. But if I'm going up, I want Brandon Miller. Why? Because the next part of my plan is to mentor these young guards. Miller is a forward, right? I need a forward that could score.
Yeah.
And Miller is that dude. I want to get Chris Paul here to be a mentor for general for the Kyra Lewises and the Alvarados. Say, boys, here's what we really need to do. I'm a veteran. I've been here. Let's make this team happen. I want Chris Paul on a veteran's minimum to come here. He's not going to ask for a big contract. Let's not fool ourselves. The dude's almost 40, right? So I would move Najee Marshall, and Kyra Lewis, and the 14th pick, and let Chris Paul come here and be a mentor to Scoot and Alvarado and the other guards on this roster, and you move CJ back to the 2. There was talk that they could move CJ and BI to 2. I'm like, no.
No.
There was somebody putting that proposal. I was like, no, sir. BK, for me, I like Scoot Henderson, but I've seen Brandon Miller. I've not seen Scoot. I've read a lot about Scoot, but I've seen Brandon play, and his legalities are clear. I want that guy. I need that guy on my roster if I'm the Pelicans. And that's what I would do. Now, David Griffin's probably saying, oh, what's this guy talking about? I want Scoot Henderson. If he's watching, hash it out. Who knows? But I would go up for Brandon Miller. Not saying I wouldn't take Scoot. Scoot's a good player. I mean, they talk a lot about him. Might be better than the number 1 pick that bum team at 1 is taking. I'm talking mess now about your Spurs, sir.
Yeah, there you are.
I see you shaking your head.
Yeah.
I know. Victor Wembanyama, 7'5" and weighs what, $160? I mean, no, he's 210 from what I saw, 210, 220. But VK, have you concocted a proposal? And could there be a 3-way deal somewhere? But I think you can make a trade heads up, but something tells me they're going to get a third team to facilitate some portions of it.
Yeah, I think it may be a three-team trade probably. I'm gonna say this, like, I think you got to free some things up. I think the third team might be maybe Toronto, maybe somebody. But if it goes with the 2-team trade, like with Charlotte and everything, I definitely get some of your I kind of get your proposal there, George, on that one. I would trade, I would trade Kira Lewis and also maybe Jackson Hayes and maybe
Okay.
some little cash and try to get the number 2 pick and maybe Miller might be, my biggest thing on Miller is your head straight? Will we have not
He's clear, bro.
we know we understand what we're talking about is your head straight. Meaning like
He's fine.
meaning like, the biggest thing is this. We understand the legal stuff is over with. I get it. But are you away from them people? That's the biggest thing. Sometimes you got to watch the company, watch everything you do. Because I think Miller can be successful, but he got to try to stay a narrow line as possible because that was pretty iffy and risky at Alabama. It was very fortunate he still played. You know what I'm saying? Because any other program, he'll been shut down maybe most of the year. But for him coming here, I think it'll be good for the Pels, especially if he get his head on straight, be humble. He'll be very good. The person I want to come here, Chris Paul is not bad. Chris Paul is not bad. I get it.
Mhm.
Come in and be a good guy to mentor. But if you want to go for the title, here's my thing. If you want to go for the title, Fred VanVleet is your guy. Go get Fred VanVleet. Championship experience, playoff experience, and leadership. He'll take a lot of pressure off CJ, and CJ will be back at the 2.
Mhm.
And I think the Pels will be a contender for the title next year immediately if they make these deals, and especially if they bring in Van Fleet. I think I'm not knocking Chris Paul. I think he'll be a good mentor. But I think Van Fleet can be a good mentor too, that has won the whole thing and try to bring a championship to the Crescent City. My thing is when you have the chance, go for it. Just go for it. I love it when franchises, especially small franchises, that's why teams like Denver has won the title. Teams like Sacramento is making a push. Teams like Oklahoma City making a push because they're starting to have a chance to go for it. And this is a chance for the Pels to try to go for this. And
Mhm.
that's the biggest thing. Hopefully, Zion can stay healthy. If he can, it'll be very, very dangerous. But I would not trade him. But that's my proposal.
All right,
Okay.
my turn. My turn. I've looked at this and I've put some names together that they could trade, but you got to look at it like this: the Charlotte Hornets are going to drop back to the number 14 pick. So
12 spots.
yeah, so they want something more in return. So I put together this: the, they get the Pelicans 14 spot. The Pelicans
All right.
offer them a future second round pick. Okay,
All right.
you trade away. You can trade away Kira Lewis and Jackson Hayes, or you keep a Kira Lewis, you trade Jackson Hayes, and you trade a starter. And that starter, I believe, is Herb Jones, because I think Trey Murphy comes off the bench, correct?
Yes.
All right.
You trade away one starter. I, I,
Mhm.
I really think they're gonna want a starter. And if you give them Herb Jones is defense. Or if you go Trey Murphy, that's another shooter who can score the ball. Good shooter.
Mhm.
So you got to weigh your options. I think Trey or Herb are going to go if this happens. I think the first round pick is gone. You're switching a future second round, and you can give up a Jackson Hayes or a Kira Lewis. That's what I'm looking at. I don't think Zion, that's not happening. Ingram's not happening. Now, as far as the point guard to bring in, I like Van Fleet, but I think this team with the options of scorers they have on the court, especially with the ones, needs someone who can facilitate the ball to get them open shots. Because we've seen a lot of one-on-one from this Pelicans team. A lot of one-on-one. The point guard that could get them into these open spots is Chris Paul. Now, I say get Chris Paul here and lessen his minutes. Man, we've seen Chris Paul get injured a lot lately in the playoffs. We've seen it. So we need Chris Paul healthy if we go deep into the playoffs or get into the playoffs. We don't need Chris Paul getting hurt. Let him play lesser minutes during the season. He'll be okay. The team will be fine. I promise you that. Need a backup point guard that he can mentor. Yes, we do. But I think Chris Paul coming back home to finish out his career here with Zion, Brandon Ingram, and CJ McCollum, I think it's the perfect piece to the puzzle.
I got a question. Is there a possibility? And here's the thing. You know you can get Chris Paul for cheap. So is there a possibility if the money's right and everything is right with the Pels, could they get both Chris Paul and Fred VanVleet?
No.
No.
You got too much money with Brandon.
The money wouldn't work. Van Vliet's going to ask for a ton.
Yeah, not at all.
No. I mean, monetarily speaking, no. Because Freddie's going to ask for look, he wanted the big contract from Toronto, and he gave up the option to go to unrestricted free agency. So he's gambling on his future.
Yes.
And he's looking for a big money contract. And yes, the Pelicans right now would be in a kind of a position to do it. But I think the Pelicans are trying to zone in on trying to move up in this draft. And I applaud the aggressiveness of David Griffin. I do. The fact that you still got 2 years of the Lakers draft in your hands, you still got your pick. Would have been nice to win the lottery, and instead of that team that did win it. Just saying, just putting it out there. I mean, he's going to look good in a Spurs uniform, but when the Knicks come calling to trade for Wembanyama, then what? Oops. No, I'm kidding. No, Wembanyama is a transcendent piece. I'm saying that because Jared is a self-professed Spurs fan. I get it. And don't we know it on the group chat, don't we, VK? I mean, that Go Spurs Go when they won the lottery, it was like, oh, man, I heard that stuff in my sleep. I heard that nonsense in my sleep. I was like, damn, couldn't sleep. I kept hearing it. It was like, I wanted to sling my phone, but I said, nah, I ain't doing that. It's brand new. So, no, but all jokes aside, to answer your question, VK, no. Monetarily speaking, Van Vliet's gambling on, he gave up $22.5 million for next year. He's not coming here for less than that. No shot.
Absolutely.
And the Pelicans are not a salary cap jail, though, brother. They're not a salary cap jail, but they got to facilitate the right moves. I think the Pelicans realize that they're closer. Trajan Langdon and the rest of that staff knows they're closer than what people think.
Yeah.
Their biggest key is simple. Zion stays healthy, and they're going to win 50 plus. They won 42 this year. Would they win 42 games? 43?
42 and 40.
42 and 40.
So,
that's minus Zion for more than half the season.
yes.
42 wins without Zion Williamson. And they had some crackpot telling me, well, Willie Green's not the right guy for the stop.
No.
Dude, stop the madness. First of all, you sound like a complete blithering moron. Dude, no. Like we need to Stan Van Gundy back. No, we don't.
No.
That's like having kidney stones. That's like having kidney stones. Yeah, well, that's what this person told me. I was like,
whoever said that is it, and I hate to say this. We don't promote drug use on a Hash It Out show, but
we do not.
Somebody seriously on acid saying that dumbness.
Oh, he's being specific, Jared.
Say somebody.
He's being specific.
Yes.
Hey, we're over the FCC regulations.
So what? Aspirations are a beautiful thing. I don't want to keep them.
Oh, we do have aspirations. I'm just being real because that's somebody's on some serious drugs. Whoever thinking of that,
just say they crazy, man.
Well,
no, I'm just saying because there is some.
It's somebody y'all both
crazy.
know.
There is crazy, and there's somebody that's.
I get it, but
somebody's in another world.
For the show, man. Come on. Go ahead, George.
I'm trying.
For the show.
I'm trying.
For the show. But at the end of the day, the biggest piece is the biggest move is the move not to make, and that's to move that's to move Zion. Don't do it. There are fans clamoring because their frustration levels are at, and I don't even want to get into what's going on. We're not doing it, ladies and gentlemen that are watching this show right now. Thank you for tuning in. If you expect us to talk about what's going on with Z, nope, this ain't your
Not
forum. It
today.
ain't happening.
Not today.
It ain't
Nope.
happening. Because put yourself in his position and see if somebody wants to talk about your business. Negative. Ain't happening. But I would not move Zion Williamson. He is a franchise player. Go read Ken Trahan's article about Zion. It is a great read. It is very informative. And I knew the numbers because, I did it myself too. He averages almost 26 a game, 8 to 9 boards a game, 3 to 4 blocks a game. The dude is a stud when he's on the floor. He's going to be fine next year. Watch and see the Rambo. He's going to be John Rambo next year for the Pelicans.
Oh yeah.
Like first blood, he's going out there to kill people next year. Not literally, but he's going out there. He's going to absolutely embarrass people next year.
My my
Zion's going to win the most improved player of the year.
my only concern is the fact that with I like Van Fleet a lot more than Paul. I like Paul to come in and finish his career, but Paul,
Okay.
but Van Fleet is young and has a title. I'm
Hmm.
telling you, like I said before, and I'm gonna say it again. And Zion got to stay healthy too. I hope Zion does. And if he doesn't, I'm gonna say it like I said before. If Zion does not come out to be who he is, especially with his health, guess what? The
See
franchise
ya.
will be held back another 5, 10 years. I don't want that. As a Pelicans fan and as a resident of this city, I don't want that.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like with the Saints, especially what's going on right now. They're trying to get it together, but we'll see. But my thing is this: why the hell we ain't blowing it up and start all over again? Because I'm like this: when you ain't got nothing, no hope, just blow the hell up, start all over, build. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? Saints has won a title. Okay, things are kind of messed up. We're gonna see what happens this season with Derek Carr. Hopefully, this is redemption like Drew Brees, but we'll see. But at the same time, with the Pelicans, they have made so many moves that then held them back for years. We're just hoping this time that this doesn't. I'm like this: if you got a chance to go win a title, go for it. That's why you need to give Van Fleet. But if they get Paul, I would not have no problem with it. But I
Mm-mm.
as a fan, I want the Pelicans to go try to win this title, man. There's too many young teams that's starting to make a come up now, and I think the Pelicans can be one of them.
Why can't they win it with Paul? Is my question to you.
I think
Why can't they be a title contender with Chris Paul? Because I think they would automatically get to the front of that discussion.
That's
they do.
true, but
Consider
Chris Paul is older now. He
and
don't he don't have the legs like he used to, bro.
understand, and Jared had the game plan, perfect game plan,
That's true.
manages minutes,
That's
That's it.
true.
Stop his minutes.
That's true.
problem solved.
That's true. But the thing is, you're gonna go with a guy that's like I want him to get a chance to get a title, but you're gonna go with a guy that's 38, legs are almost shot, to a guy that's 25 and is young and still got plenty of ammo. I'm going with somebody that still got ammo and a championship. Just saying.
I understand. I understand where you're coming from.
Just
I
saying.
don't. I don't.
But I respect where
Coming
y'all
from.
coming from with it.
Yeah, I do. I just think Chris Paul, a guy that can get guys the ball, that can find open guys for open shots, is the key right now. Just my opinion. Frank
Yep.
Van Vliet can shoot the ball, yes, but I don't. He's not that distributor like Chris Paul is, and I think
Nope.
the distributor is the most important thing that they need right now. A good point guard.
Exactly. But I do want to say one thing, not about the Pels, about the Nuggets. We didn't mention this, but the unfortunate craziness that happened post game with the celebrations. 10 people now have been shot. Uh, for the love of God, Denver, shame on y'all. Y'all win y'all first NBA championship, and this is how you act.
Yeah,
Shame on y'all. New Orleans didn't do it when when the Saints won the Super Bowl. I know I was on Bourbon Street. We
I
watched it.
was.
Me and a group of us. We was at Pat O's for that. Not Pat O's. The what the heck is it? Another famous bar. I can't think of it off the top of my head. Um, shoot. Anyway, but we walked down Bourbon Street, and there was not a pinch of violence. There was all hugs, high fives, daps. We didn't bring guns out there and started shooting and all that
Two girls
foolishness.
start fighting.
Well, that's it. I
Two girls
mean, they
talking.
was
I was,
they started duking.
I'm like, what
I
y'all
saw a fight
doing? We won a
myself,
Super Bowl. Why y'all fighting?
and I was gonna say I thought I saw a weave fly, but I'm just kidding when I say that. You never know. I mean, you know how women fight; they do all kind of foolishness. But my point is, other cities don't behave like we do. New Orleans. Why do you think journalists nationally ask any journalist where they want to be? New Orleans.
The city is always
New
But
Orleans.
but
like this.
but but here's the thing. Here's the thing about it. The reason
Hmm.
why there's three cities you can say that outside. There's three cities that you can go there and win a championship. Ain't gonna be too much trouble because we know how to party. We know how to celebrate. We're a town that's known for it. The only other places that would be like us, Las Vegas, Miami. And when they had their celebrations, it's not nothing bad at all because there are party cities. They're cities that's known for the culture and everything else. We know how to.
Speaking
We all know how to have a good time. So
speaking of
that's why
Las
we're so
Vegas,
used to it, huh?
speaking of Las
Yeah, they're
Vegas,
about to win their Stanley Cup.
yeah, about to win the
Vegas,
Stanley Cup.
It's six. Last I saw was 6-1.
Eight
but
three.
but
5 minutes left.
and
8-3.
Yeah.
this is
Jesus.
gonna be the second world
First.
title. No, second. The Aces. You forgot?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Thank
WNBA. Okay,
you.
you're
George
right.
thought
Thank
you were
you.
saying the second one for the Vegas Knights, though. No, this
No,
Okay.
no,
second
no.
in the
Yeah.
six.
I thought he mentioned the Stanley Cup. Okay, never. You okay? I stand corrected.
Yeah, you're corrected. We're talking about overall for
We hear
town.
you.
But see, Denver, and I can understand this was their first title for the Nuggets. Now, I'm thinking that
Second straight
I,
title for Colorado.
I thought Denver would be better than this
Yeah, all of
because
Avalanche
because
is in
because
the Broncos. Yeah.
Broncos got 3 titles, you know. So I'm thinking
Avalanche won it last year.
Avalanche won it last year,
Yeah, Avalanche got
and
more than one time.
and
Hmm.
Avalanche got what 2 titles?
Maybe
Two
more.
titles now?
They had
No,
three
I
or
think
four.
they got three.
More than that.
Three. They
Yeah.
got three.
Three. They
Yeah,
won. They won against Florida. They beat the Devils when Raymond Borg finally got it, and then they won last year.
yeah. Them two Joe Sackett
So
ones.
that's three.
Yeah, so they got three
Right.
titles. 3 titles of the Avalanche, 3 titles of the Broncos. Now one with the Denver Nuggets. The only one left is the
Nuggets.
Colorado Rockies. They've been to a World Series,
You'll be waiting a minute for
but
that
they
one.
didn't. They
A
never
long
won one.
minute.
So it's been a long minute. So that's.
Fair.
But it's amazing that they couldn't behave themselves. It's crazy. But like I said, the comparison it's obvious. New Orleans, Miami, and Vegas. Like we know how to have a good time. That's why there's not too much trouble. That's
I'm
what
gonna
it
jump.
is.
I'm gonna jump in right quick. I hear what both of y'all saying, but it's still a sad case because we
It
got
is.
10 people murdered or 10 people injured due to this mass shooting, which is horrific in itself, man. And this needs to stop, man. This is just too much going on in our country. Every
Correct.
every day is a mass shooting going on. We might not hear about every mass shooting, but man, it's too many, and it has to stop, man. Too many
Uh,
innocent lives are being taken, and it's a sad case right now.
two words for that, and we're gonna go on. Gun freaking control. Gun
3.
control.
You said freaking control, so
Well,
that's
I'm
3.
sorry, 3 words.
Well, you know how he is, George.
Yeah.
That's that St. Augment math. I got
I
you.
know, right?
Oh
All
Lord.
right,
Right.
all right. Moving on.
Oh,
Moving
oh,
on.
I gotta say this before you move on.
No, you don't.
Fred
You can wait.
Van
You
Fleet's
can wait. You can wait. Go
That's
ahead.
funny. Fred Van Fleet's
I know.
stats for this season: 19.3 points a game, 4.1 rebounds, 7.2 assists this season.
That's pretty good.
And
Mhm.
That's pretty good.
you said that's he's not a distributor.
That's pretty good. That's
Nobody said that.
That's pretty good. I
Somebody
said the
said
better distributor, and Chris Paul will still give you
Yeah, Chris Paul's the more proven distributor.
about 9.
It's a good
And the
number.
thing is, Fred Van Fleet had to score more because there's not many other scorers on that team since Lowry and Kawhi left.
Aniobi. And Aniobi is the only other dude there.
Yeah,
That's it.
Pascal Siakam. So
Siakam.
ain't
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, him too, but Siakam's not a scorer.
Yeah, he is.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he's a not. He's more defense than scoring. I think he's a rim protector.
Oh, he give you about 20-something points a game.
He could.
Okay,
All right.
but anyway, moving on.
Yes,
Moving on.
moving on. We thank everybody that tuned in. We're back tomorrow night. I'm gonna let VK let y'all know who we got on the show tomorrow.
Well, we got some kind of good news, kind of bad news though.
Oh, shoot.
Well, we have we're supposed to have two guests tomorrow night, but kind of find out we're having one because of the fact that one of the guests has a camp this week. So that's why he's not going to join us. We're supposed to have the Hankton brothers join us tomorrow, but Cortez Hankton, who's the assistant, we're supposed to have Cortez Hankton, assistant coach from the LSU Tigers, and Corday Hankton, an assistant coach from the University of Virginia. That's going to be joining us tomorrow, but Cortez cannot make it because of camp commitments this week. But Corday Hankton will join us tomorrow night. He'll join. He'll step in for Cortez. We'll have Cortez Hankton later down the line, but we'll have Corday Hankton. We'll talk about his coaching career, his relationship with his brother, and his family, and everything. How they meant so much to him going forward, especially in his career. So he's been known. He's a Archbishop Rummel graduate, but also played at Jackson State. But at the same time, he stepped in the footsteps of his brother, stepping in and being an assistant coach, and he's been working at a couple of big places. So it's good to see him back at the University of Virginia. We'll have him on tomorrow night on our show, and next week we also will have Troy University night. Waiting on one more guest confirmation, but one of the guests we will have is Larry Cordero. He will return to talk about his opportunity as an assistant coach at Troy University, and we're just waiting on one more guest to join us as well for that night next week. Huh? Frozen?
I think Jared froze.
No, I'm not. I'm
Yeah,
not.
of
We
course you
did.
did.
No, I'm not. George, I didn't hear about these guests on this show. I didn't hear nothing about
I didn't either.
No.
I didn't either.
I didn't confirm this, George. You confirmed this, George?
No.
No, sir.
No, we talked
I
about
didn't
this last week, Jared. You
We
forgot?
talked about Troy Day. You didn't tell me next Wednesday was Troy Day. You didn't tell me.
Exactly.
No. This is what you said. You said don't do it next week. Do it the week after. Remember, you said that.
I
You
did.
said that.
I did, but you didn't give me a date.
What you think a week after means? You said not the next week. The week
Today is
after.
Tuesday.
Oh,
You gave
wow.
next Tuesday, right, George?
Could have.
What day? What I was aiming for the regular. That was regular. I was trying to aim for the regular time slot that we usually do on Wednesday nights. That's what I was aiming.
But Darryl on somebody else next Wednesday.
Cordero and somebody else next week. It'll probably be Stephanie Murphy.
And to tell you about Larry Cordero, I've talked to him in person. I know the man personally. He where I used to live in Bunkie, I would go to a non-denomination church, and he was a guest pastor, guest preacher at that church. It's a non-denomination church, an Assemblies of God church. I met Larry.
Yeah.
Very, very, very nice guy.
Very.
Love him to death.
Very.
And he's got a very good wit to him. His humor is off the chain good. I wish, and I don't say I wish, but when Cordero left LSUA, I kind of was hoping prejudicially that UNO would move on from Schlesinger and get Cordero here because your program would have instant credibility if you'd have got Larry here.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen. He's now an assistant at Troy. We wish him the best, and we're going to obviously talk to him next week. This is news to me. We're going to talk to him next week, and I'm looking forward to that interview because I don't know Stephanie Murphy personally. I do know Larry well.
Yeah,
but it's going to be a fun interview.
Stephanie Murphy is going to be a good interview because she has an interesting story in itself. I told Jared about her a little bit. I'm going to tell you about her a little bit, George. She used to be the former head coach of the Coahoma Community College women's basketball
team.
Yes,
you told me about her.
That turnaround.
You told me about her.
Yes.
You did tell me about her. Okay, yeah, because you mentioned to me that she used to coach at Coahoma when you was the SID there.
Yes.
So yeah, okay, I got you.
Yeah, and she has a story.
All right, now I know.
So I'm gonna make sure that she's confirmed to come and join us. I think she has a great story.
Oh wow.
She's a former Ole Miss Rebel. So she played with some people and was coached under some people and everything else. She was a very good player in high school back then. And also she was an awesome ladies basketball coach in high school before she took the college job. So we'll
9-3 Vegas, by the way,
Ooh,
gentlemen. Less than a minute to go.
Yeah,
9-3.
3. Look, everybody
Ooh.
that's watching, I playfully give VK a hard time every now and then. I usually do, but I like to let y'all know VK, out of the many guests we have had, VK has been the one to get these guests. So I am more than thankful of any guests that VK gets for this show. So yes, next Wednesday is Troy University Day. We will have that, and I can't wait. Cordaro, an assistant at Troy now. He's stepping up in the ranks, man. He's stepping up.
And we was hoping.
Yes, he is. Moving on up like George and Wheezy.
Yeah.
Moving on up.
And we'll have Brock Hayes down the line. We try to get him. He's got camps as well, so we'll have him down the line.
Okay.
Cool deal. Cool deal. So we're back tomorrow with Corday Hankton, Virginia football coach. Not the head coach, he's the assistant coach. He'll be back with us tomorrow. For our special guest, Alex Day, we thank him for joining us. For my friends, my co-hosts, George Peppers and VK Jones, thank y'all again. I'm your host, JB, your sports guy. We are back tomorrow night. And ladies and gentlemen, we talked about Legends Month in July. We are racking up pretty well right now with Legends Month. So Marlon Fave,
Stay tuned.
Marlon Fave, right? Brian Lee, Terrell Harris. We have Lester Ricard, and we have, cannot get it off the tip of my tongue, and I'm not gonna forget this person. We have Jonathan Wells, former Ohio State NFL running back. Those are the 5 we got. We are still working to get more for Legends Month. But thank y'all for tuning in. We're back tomorrow. Y'all take care.